Okay, we had our timer run out here. We're sputtering away. I'm going to turn off the stove, and now we just wait for this to come down to 0 psi before we remove the petcock and open up these guys. That'll be a little while yet. Okay, we still aren't quite down to pressure, but because we aren't canning something, I can just pull that petcock off now without too much worry. If I was canning something in here with mason jars, you definitely don't want to pull that petcock off prematurely. But right now it's going to just vent the rest of the pressure. There's not too much pressure left in there. Technically speaking, you could pull that off at 15 psi if you want it to, as long as you don't have mason jars in there that you're canning, as long as it's just food. But I'm not going to do that. You may have noticed when I put stuff in there that I didn't put any spices or salt or pepper or anything in there. That would be a very good time to put that stuff in there if you want it to. The reason I don't is that I used to do that a number of years ago, and my wife complained that she didn't like the spicing that I was using. Excuse me. So now when I do my broth, my beef or pork or chicken broth, I just do it just plain meat and bones and nothing else, and that way when my wife opens a mason jar of it, she can add the spicing that she wants rather than have to deal with the spicing that I had in there. Okay, it took a couple of minutes to stop hissing. You can see, okay, no more steam, no more sound. I've already taken off most of the knobs. I'm just going to take the last two off now and take off the lid. Probably going to be some steam. Yes, indeed there will be. Oh my goodness, that smells awesome. No spicing or anything like that, as I already mentioned. But oh my goodness, that still smells incredible. So now I'm just going to leave the lid off and let it come down to temperature. Obviously that's going to take a while to do. Actually what I'm going to do, that's not what I'm going to do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get something to scoop out the carcasses and put them into another pot, because it will cool down an awful lot quicker if I do it that way. Leave the liquid in this pot and the carcasses in the other pot. This is probably, that's got to be 15 liters total of carcass and liquid, which will take a very, very long time to cool down. But if I scoop out the carcass pieces into another large pot and leave it like that, it will cool down significantly quicker. So let's do that. Okay, there's my big one. There's a 15-liter pot that I bought recently at Costco for about 50 bucks, which is a really good price for this pot. The handles are riveted on. It's got a really thick aluminum foot on it. Really great buy. Now this one actually has a minor flaw in it, which I don't know if you'll be able to see or not. There's in the round, you know, this should all be round obviously. There's a slight flat spot right here which you probably won't be able to see. Very, very slight. And knowing Costco's return policy, I know that I could have easily returned this, no questions asked, which is one of the reasons I like shopping there. But honestly, what would that get me? This thing would end up in a junk heap somewhere, in a garbage dump or whatever. It's a perfectly good pot. Even with the slight flaw, it's not going to really affect my use of it. If I look at that point on the outside, the foot isn't separated or anything like that, so honestly I don't care. If I had returned it, I could have got one that was absolutely perfect, but then this one would just end up in a junk heap somewhere and I'm just contributing to garbage. Anyway, I'm going to scoop the stuff out from there into here. Alright, here we go. If you've watched any of my brewing videos, you know that I use this for a couple of different things in brewing. I'm also going to use it for scooping the stuff out of here. Before I do, you may or may not be able to notice that there's actually a fairly thick layer of chicken fat on top here. I didn't remove any of the fat from the carcasses before I boiled them down, because honestly, fat goes to the top. It's really easy to move after the to remove after the fact. and we'll show that later in the mason jars. It's very easy to remove from mason jars, and I'll show you how. And a little bit of fat is a good thing. From the mason jars you can use as much as you like. So I didn't remove any before putting it in here. And look at that. That is just coming apart. That carcass is just coming right apart beautifully there. Oh, yeah, that is wonderful. And in it goes. And I'm just going to scoop this stuff all out of here. Oh yeah, that is just coming right apart there. That meat is going to pick off of those bones. So awesome. And I'm just going to keep scooping this stuff out of here and putting it over in the other pot. This stuff over here will cool down a lot more quickly now because it's not a total volume of this massive amount. And of course I'm going to save that broth. That's wonderful broth. The color is just incredible. Wow. That is just incredible. I wish I had discovered these chicken parts a long time ago, because this is just a whole new kind of awesome, I'm telling you. Wow. It really is. Alright, I won't bore you with the details here. I'm going to finish up the scooping and let this stuff here cool down, and after that is done I will turn the camera back on and we will just spend a little bit of time together picking the meat off the bones. Now just a quick comment while I'm thinking of it. I used to boil down my carcasses in a regular pot, and you know, at one point it struck me that I should be doing it in a pressure cooker, and there's a couple of good reasons why actually that's a better idea. One is you can do it a lot more quickly. The carcasses I just boiled down, I did in, you know, counting the time it took to come up to heat, it took me under 2 hours, about 50 minutes to come up to heat and 45 to cook. To do it the old-fashioned way would take you 5 hours easily, probably 6. Another really good thing that I discovered by mistake really in doing it is that when you're picking through all of this, look at all of that. It's just a whole heap of cartilage and a little bit of cartilage and bone and meat and other stuff, skin and fat. When you're picking through that, you're going to do your best to get all of the meat over claimed off so that you can use it, but you're invariably going to get a bone in there. If you boil it the old way, just in a pot, the bones are going to be hard as bones. But when you do it in a pressure cooker, chicken bones actually, look at that, that's just breaking right up very softly in my hands. So actually, if you get a bone in your soup and somebody gets a bone in their mouth, they're going to be an awful lot less likely to choke on it, I think, than they would be otherwise, because look at that, it's just falling right apart, that bone. So if they get that in their mouth, it's going to break up really easily, and bones are actually pretty good for you, calcium and so forth, so there's no harm in actually eating it. Because of the high pressure in the pressure cooker, it softens them up like that. So I think that's an advantage. Okay, all I'm doing now, it's only a few minutes after I scoop this all in here. It's still kind of warm, but the stuff on top cools itself off. I'm just going through this basically with a fine-tooth comb, picking out the bones. I got the garbage can right there by the stove. There's good meat, and it takes a while to go through. There's 9 carcasses of chicken, and it certainly takes a while to go through, but it's worth it. It's easy work. I don't mind it at all, and basically you're just going through it. Feel it with your fingers. Feel it with your fingers. You can feel the bones in there. Toss the bones in the garbage. There's another bone. You just want to give it all, every little bit of it, give it a good feel, because there's some very small bones. There's one that you otherwise might not see. That's actually a chicken bone, but like I said before, it's very soft, so if you miss that little one, don't worry about it. I'll eat it. It's soft. Just give it all a good feel and make sure you're getting the bones out of there. Takes a while. It's not that hard to do though. There's part of a neck there. There's a lot of bones in a neck, of course. A lot of meat on a neck too. You may not know that, but there we go, lots of meat there. The more you do this, the easier it gets, because you learn what parts have bones and what parts don't. Look, I'm just giving that all a good feel. Make sure there's no bones in there, just giving it a good feel. You got to go through the whole mess of it like that, basically, giving it a good feel. There's a neck. If you pull all the neck bones apart, you pull them apart, there's lots of meat on a neck and the spine, all around the spine. There's lots of good meat there. And that's all we're doing. Go through the whole thing. You're going to go through that whole pot there, 9 carcasses, picking through it like that, feeling it all with your fingers. You want to feel the bones, and that's the work in it. And that's it.